Have you ever heard a story so unsettling that it stayed with you long after you turned off the light? These are the kinds of stories that slip under your skin. Stories that sound like urban legends but have been told and retold as if they really happened. Whether they are true, embellished, or something in between, they remind us how thin the line is between normal life and unimaginable horror. The first story begins in Paris, sometime in the early 1900s, though some say it happened much later. A young woman named Madeleine traveled to the city with her mother. They had come all the way from England so her mother could consult a famous physician about a lingering illness. The journey had been exhausting, and by the time they arrived at their hotel, a grand old building near the Seine, they were both weak with fatigue. The concierge greeted them warmly, helped them to their room, and arranged for a doctor to visit later that afternoon. As her mother lay resting, Madeleine realized she had left her mother's medicine in the carriage. She told her mother she would return shortly and went downstairs to find the driver. But when she returned, medicine in hand, something was wrong. The room she had left only 20 minutes earlier no longer looked the same. The wallpaper had changed. The furniture was different. And worst of all, her mother was gone. At first, she assumed she had the wrong floor. She ran back downstairs to the front desk and explained that her mother was missing. The concierge frowned and told her she had checked in alone. Madeleine insisted she had been traveling with her mother. The clerk called over other staff members. None of them had seen an older woman. In fact, the hotel registry listed only one guest under her name. Madeleine began to feel dizzy, her voice rising in desperation. She demanded to see the manager. The manager came out and confirmed the same story. She had arrived alone, signed the ledger alone, signed the ledger alone, and been assigned the single room alone. The doctor she had arranged to see claimed he had no record of an appointment. When she asked to see her mother's luggage, no one knew what she was talking about. Fearing she was losing her mind, she fled to the British Embassy, where she told her story over and over again. Some believed her. Some believed her. Some believed her. Some thought she was delirious from stress and grief. No trace of her mother was ever found. The story would go on to become known as the Vanishing Hotel Room, a cautionary tale about how quickly reality can be rewritten. No one has ever proved definitively whether it happened, but the legend persists, unsettling everyone who hears it. The second story takes place on a dark highway in rural Pennsylvania. It is a story that every woman who has driven alone at night has imagined at least once. A woman named Diane was driving home after visiting her sister. The road was nearly empty, just an endless stretch of asphalt winding through dense forest. After a while, she noticed headlights in her rearview mirror. A large truck was following her, much too close. She felt her pulse quicken. She tapped her brakes lightly, hoping the driver would back off. But the truck stayed right behind her. A minute later, its high beams flashed, flooding her car with blinding light. She gripped the wheel, trying not to panic. Maybe the driver was drunk. Maybe he was trying to intimidate her. She considered pulling over but thought better of it. As she kept driving, the truck flashed its high beams again. Then again. Every few seconds, the blinding glare lit up her mirrors. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought she might faint. Finally, she saw an exit ramp and took it, hoping to lose him. But the truck followed. She drove faster, turning down a side road toward a gas station she knew would be open. The truck roared behind her, headlights flashing. As she pulled into the gas station, she jumped out and ran toward the door, screaming for help. The truck skidded to a stop behind her. The driver leaped out, shouting incoherently. She braced herself to fight him off, but instead he ran to the back door of her car, yanked it open. and dragged a man out of her back seat. The stranger had been crouched behind her the entire time, holding a knife. Every time he sat up to attack her, the truck driver flashed his high beams to warn her. When police arrived, they arrested the man, who turned out to be an escaped convict wanted for multiple violent crimes. Diane later learned that if she had pulled over earlier, she probably would not have survived. The truck driver, the stranger she had feared, was the only reason she was alive. This story has been told in countless variations, but nearly all versions share the same chilling moment. The realization that the real danger wasn't behind you. It was already inside your car. It is the reason so many people now check their back seats before driving away. The third story is perhaps the most unsettling because it is relatively recent and well documented. It is the story of the Watcher, a name that has become synonymous with suburban dread. In June 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus bought their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey. The 6-bedroom house at 657 Boulevard was perfect for their growing family. They had worked hard to afford it and planned to settle in for the rest of their lives. But before they had even moved in, a letter arrived. The envelope was addressed simply to the new owner, but the contents were anything but simple. The letter began cordially enough. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. But as they read on, the tone changed. The writer claimed that their family had been watching the house for decades and that it was now their turn to do the watching. The letter described details about the Broaddus family that no stranger should have known, such as the make of their car and the names of their children. The writer asked if the new owners had found out what was in the walls yet and promised there was more to discover. Derek and Maria were shaken but hoped it was a prank. Then another letter came, and another. Each was more threatening than the last. The Watcher claimed to have been put in charge of observing the house as it passed from generation to generation. They asked disturbing questions. Have they found what's in the walls yet? And who has the bedrooms facing the street? They also wrote, once I know their names facing the street. They also wrote, once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. The Broadduses contacted the police and launched their own investigation, installing cameras and hiring private detectives. But no one was ever caught. The letters continued, describing when the children played in the yard and when Maria was alone at the house. The family became so terrified that they never moved in. Eventually, they tried to sell the house, but word of the Watcher made it nearly impossible. Some people suggested it was a hoax created by the Broadduses themselves to get out of a mortgage they couldn't afford. Others believed the letters were real and that the Watcher is still out there, waiting for the next family to move in. To this day, no one knows the true identity of the Watcher. The case remains unsolved. The letters have been examined by handwriting experts, and DNA was found on one of the envelopes, but it was never matched to a suspect. Whoever the Watcher is, they succeeded in their goal, to frighten a family out of their home. These stories remind us that sometimes the scariest monsters are not ghosts or demons, but ordinary people hiding behind polite words in familiar places. They are reminders that horror can find us anywhere. In a hotel room, on a lonely highway, or in the house we thought would be our sanctuary. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more true crime and horror documentaries. And tell us in the comments which story disturbed you the most. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the real horror is what you can't explain.